I want to thank everyone for attending tonight's meeting of the Conservative Discussions Club. I'd like to ask everyone to stand to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, that's it. Okay, good evening. I'm Neil Rayfield, the President of the CDC, and I will be the moderator of tonight's meeting. I want to introduce the other officers of the club, Don Gavin, who is the Executive Vice President, and Jerry Morelli, the Secretary. I have a few thank yous. I want to thank Gary Spieler for creating the club logo. He really did a great job. And I want to thank Al Wax for videotaping tonight's meeting. We're videotaping it so that we can send it out to all the members, and anyone who couldn't attend the meeting, they'll be up to date on everything that's going on. And also I want to thank Vinnie Morelli and his assistant for handing out the new membership applications, and also the membership, the discussion club's policy statement. So basically, this is the policy club statement. It's our mission statement. There's been a lot of confusion about the club. Why did we start it? What's it all about? So we came up with this document to really describe who and what we are. The CDC was established to give Valencia Lake residents the opportunity to learn about American conservative principles and how these fundamentals apply to important issues that are impacting the country. The club is not political and does not support any political party or candidate. And then this was put on your seat or your chair when you came in, and basically it gives you a rundown of some of the conservative values that we're talking about. We are looking for members to join our board. Right now we only have 3 people doing all the work. Hopefully you're going to be excited after tonight's meeting to get more involved in what we're doing. We're looking for people to fill out our board, to become programming people, and other positions on the board, which we really need, because it's very difficult for 3 people to carry the burden. And now I want to review the format of tonight's meeting. After the speaker is finished with his presentation on immigration, there will be a question and answer period. And if time permits, there will be an open discussion limited to immigration. And now I want to introduce our guest speaker for the evening. Our guest speaker is attorney Ahmed Yaksan. He holds the following degrees: Master of Laws, a JD with a concentration in international law, and a Master of Business Administration. His court admissions include Supreme Court of the United States, 11th Court of Appeals, United States Middle and Southern District of Florida. And Ahmed is a native of Lebanon who came to the United States as a student in 1998. In 2015, he established the American Dream Law Office with the goal of helping his clients achieve their American dream. Mr. Yaksan currently practices immigration law at the American Dream Law Office in St. Petersburg, Florida. Let's give a nice round of applause and welcome to
you so much for having me. I usually don't need this, but this is a bigger room and I want everybody to hear me. Okay? By show of hands, who's related to Senator Elizabeth Warren? Who's here 100% Native American? No one? Okay, so we can all agree on one thing, right? We all agree that we're the children of immigrants, the grandparents of, granddaughters of immigrants, grandchildren of immigrants. So let's make this fun today. Let's talk about immigration, right? You guys agree? Yeah. All right. I've been here for more than what I lived in Lebanon. I've been here for 20 years now, okay? During the 20 years that I've been here in the U.S., I have really lived the American dream. I tell people the day when I got that student visa, I'll tell you guys, let's do it this way. I'm Lebanese. At the time, we didn't have a consulate in Lebanon for me to get my visa, so I had to go to Damascus to get it. My grandmother put me on a bus and we went together. Okay? I had gone there before to get it, and they told me I was too young, so I had to come back after I turned 18 years old. So let me set the scene together for you guys. The U.S. Embassy in Damascus is on top of a hill. There's a little park right next to it. You know when you walk downstairs? You walk down, there's a little park. My grandmother was sitting there praying for me, and I ran out with tears in my eyes, screaming, "Grandma, I got it, Grandma, I got it." I remember that day till today. And she was crying while she was praying for me. I tell people I won the lottery ticket when I got that visa. Okay? Now, I might have some people here today that don't want a single immigrant to be here in the United States. Okay? And we're going to disagree. But I want to be disagreeable. I want you to leave here knowing what immigration has done for me and what it does for my clients. I came here not with a lot of things, and today I help clients just like me who want to come here and live peacefully. I represent people from multimillionaires to people who are literally the daughters and children of a political dissident in West Africa who's on YouTube, and the dictator that he opposed beat him so badly that he couldn't even sit down to actually give his confession. Okay? So guess where his kids chose to come and become doctors and become CPAs? To this country. They didn't go to Europe, they didn't go to Canada, they didn't go to Mexico, they didn't go anywhere. They came here to the land of dreams. I will talk to you about immigration, and I want this to be as lively as possible. I want you to raise your hand and ask questions, because I don't like to hear myself speak. I'm going to be very honest with you. Okay? Who here has a burning question to ask me? No? Okay. There we go. Yes, sir.
How do you go about it? You want to come to America? Did you think, hey, I'll come to America, or how did it all come about?
All right. So my father, when I was maybe 14 years old, told me, you know, Lebanon has nothing for you. I want to send you to school to go to the United States. Because even in 1994 in Lebanon, this was the land of dreams. And I go twice or three times a year to Lebanon, you know. And anybody would trade spaces with me in a heartbeat. No matter how religious they are, no matter how liberal they are, I give them that chance to come into the United States, they would trade spaces in a heartbeat. I promise. So I went to school. I was on top of my class in high school when I was in Lebanon. I spoke English fluently. I actually passed my English exam from the first time. Got a visa and came here to study. And I knew I wanted to be an attorney from when I was 15. I wanted to be an international lawyer. That trip, I came here at 18. I didn't see my mom again until I was 35 years old. I was on my own. At some point, I was homeless. I was sleeping on couches when I was going to college. My first year of law school, I was living on $200 a month, including my cell phones, my foods, everything. My room and board was paid for by a scholarship that I received, but I was literally living on $200 a month. I had a rotisserie chicken in my fridge, in the little fridge that someone gave me, that I ate for a week. Now, I know I don't look like it, but I caught up since then. The story of Lady Liberty is really entrenched in American culture and American history. Yesterday, I couldn't fall asleep, and I went to Netflix and I started watching the movie Lincoln. Who's seen Lincoln? It's a very good movie, you know? And it really made me tear up, because we've all fought our own fights for this country. We really have. I mean, you're always fighting in your own way for this country to make it feel, you know, to make it better. And we all do. We all do. So, I'm here to speak about immigration, which I could talk about for days. And we'll talk about a little bit about the immigration system. I know it's in the news a lot. And again, like the gentleman asked a question, if someone wants to stop me and ask, I'll be more than happy to. And that doesn't count towards your minute and a half later. So if you want to get some extra time now, it'd be awesome. Okay? So my name is Ahmed Yaqzan, like Neil, introduced me. And I want to thank you guys for having me so much. I don't know if I did it earlier, but I'm the proud owner of Make America Dream Again. And now I'm going to start here. Maybe? No, okay. And I make the hats and everything, and you can order them. Mada.biz. I'm just messing. And I didn't always want to be an immigration attorney until I met someone in law school who was my professor and told me, you need to do this because you have a story and you make friends just like this, and this is half of practicing immigration law. And that was one of the best decisions I have ever made. Now, I didn't come here on a boat. I didn't cross illegally. I am the story of why our immigration system is so broken. It took me 17 and a half years to get a green card in my hand. And guess what? This country invested $300,000 into my education. And it took me 17 and a half years to get a green card. You know why? Because I didn't want to do it the wrong way. I didn't want to get married and get a fake green card. Okay? And I didn't want to violate the law in this country, because I'm an attorney and I took an oath to actually uphold that, and that means the world to me. There are so many ways to come to the United States, and I'll run through some of them. Yes, a lot of people cross the border illegally, and honestly, recently that number has been dwindling, no matter what you guys believe. Actually, the numbers from the administration itself, they're saying the numbers are dwindling. But you come here to this country in one of two ways. Either by having a non-immigrant visa, which means you come here for a temporary time and then you go back. Or you actually get what's called an immigrant visa, which is, even though you're in the United States, you are applying for an immigrant visa if you want a green card. But that's the other part. You actually get a green card, or you don't get a green card, you get a temporary visa. A lot of the undocumented immigrants here in the United States are actually visa overstays. And I give you this. The problem with our immigration system is once people actually come here, we do a really crappy job actually tracking. Okay? So you have about maybe 80% of the people who are here in an undocumented way, they came here and overstayed a temporary visa. I know because I represent a lot. The other part, the immigrant visa system, is so broken that we're educating kids right now in American universities that do not have green cards at the end of the road. That's the other part of our immigration system that's actually broken. We have 85,000 visas a year for people who graduate from here with what's called a specialty occupation, which is an occupation that actually requires a bachelor's degree. And then with Karam Bye-Bye, There's no visa for you, you're going back to your country. By the way, they don't actually go back to their country. They go to Canada and they go to Europe. That's actually taken them with pretty much a landed immigrant permit stable to their passport. Right? So we're losing that part. So our immigration system has several components. One of them is what's called the Department of Homeland Security. You guys have heard of them. You know, in 2006, President Bush actually put everybody together and called them the Department of Homeland Security. These are the people that, you know, when you're going through TSA at the airport, that's one of the components of Department of Homeland Security. CBP, which, you know, does everything at the port of entries, and they check into everything. You know, if you're smuggling anything, that's part of it. But also another part of them is called the Citizenship and Immigration Services. And Citizenship and Immigration Services is where everybody actually applies for a benefit under the Immigration and Naturalization Act. Now, who here knows how they are funded? Citizenship and Immigration Services. Raise your hand if you know. No? They're funded by fees. So if I want to apply for citizenship, I pay almost $800 for me to actually apply for citizenship. If I want to apply for a green card, it sets you back about $1,700. So immigrants who actually apply for those benefits pay to run the CIS, which is the Citizenship and Immigration Services. They don't actually take taxpayer money to actually pay for these things, okay? Another part of it is that if you are an immigrant and you actually want to apply for a benefit like a green card, you're not going to get the green card unless you have a sponsor who is actually going to be responsible for you for 10 years or until you become a United States citizen. Which means that if you actually go and apply for food stamps, you're never going to see a green card. Or the government is going to go after your sponsor and ask for that money from your sponsor because they signed a contract between themselves and the United States government that they will support you until you become a U.S. citizen. And trust me, they are enforcing these. Now recently, in the last maybe 6 or 7 years, even when you get divorced and you go to family court and try to actually get support from your spouse, that's one of the things where the government is actually coming in and enforcing that contract, you know, for them to actually take that money. So you're going to be taken care of until you become a citizen or for 10 years after you become you know, a green card holder. If you take support from the government, you're not going to it's actually going to be very hard for you to be a U.S. citizen because that's one of the things that you're supposed to do as a green card holder. If you don't pay child support, you're not going to become a U.S. citizen. So there are a lot of things that actually prohibit people who are in the system in an undocumented way or in a legal documented way from taking advantage of the system. And I know you hear that a lot in the news saying that immigrants take 1, 2, 3, 4, which is actually not true. Now, who here knew that undocumented immigrants pay almost $10 billion a year in taxes? Thank you. Actually, they pay taxes because in 10 years, if they want to apply for a green card in immigration court, one of the things that the judge is going to be looking at is actually if they paid your taxes or not. So a lot of my clients go and get what's called an ITIN number. Anybody here is CPA? No? Okay. The ITIN is an individual tax identification number, which is not a social security number, that you can use and actually file for taxes for income that you actually make in the United States. Now, I know what you're going to be saying. The money, you know, you're not allowed to work 9 times out of 10 and all that stuff. I understand. But, you know, they're paying taxes. They're paying into the system. A lot of them are very proud that they don't actually want food stamps. They just want to work. So that's one part is CIS. The other part is what's called an immigration court. An immigration court is under the Department of Justice. And if anyone here an attorney? Am I the only one? Seriously? Okay. So, who here knows what hearsay means? Hearsay statements, right? In criminal court, hearsay is not allowed. I once had a triple hearsay statement from someone in the United States Embassy in the Ukraine admitted against one of my clients. Triple hearsay. So 3 people said to each other, and they wrote it on a piece of paper. It didn't have a single signature on it. It's not a fair system. Even immigration judges themselves tell you that the immigration system is unfair. The immigration court system is unfair. We don't have enough immigration court judges. A single judge has between 800 and 1,200 cases to their name. They don't get to hear cases for that long. Now, I understand some of you might say, well, they're here and they're illegals. Why should we actually care? Why should we give them due process? Because we're in the United States. That's why we give them due process. Because in my country, in Lebanon, if you get caught crossing, they put you on a truck and they send you back. Now, we used to do that too, but not anymore. So now, when you get caught, you're going through the immigration court system. Questions so far? No? Okay, so the immigration court system is very hard. You're not guaranteed an attorney. You actually have to pay an attorney yourself, or you have to go to non-for-profits, and a lot of funding for non-for-profits have actually dried up recently to the extent to where I know someone who used to work for one of those non-for-profits, and he had to get fired because so you're going in there and actually pretty much batting against 2 pitchers, because you have a judge who can actually interrupt at any time and speak to you and ask you questions, and you have very seasoned lawyers on the other end that represent the government. So winning an asylum case, for example, in some parts of the country, your chances are 8%. 8%. If you get to that level and you don't actually win before. So the system is also broken. Now, how many people have crossed the border illegally last year? Anyone? Too many. Why too many?
Because I think one's too many.
You think one is too many. Why do you think one is too many?
If they're illegal, they're breaking the law.
Okay, they're undocumented.
Undocumented.
Okay, thank you. Who here thinks, where did your parents come from?
Mine,
Yes.
Mexico and Puerto Rico.
What about your grandparents?
Mexico and Spain.
Okay, Mexico and Spain. Did they have a visa when they came here to the U.S.?
Probably not. I don't know. No.
Did they come through Ellis Island?
I think so.
Okay, so you know when you got your visa in Ellis Island, right? Actually, when you landed, that's when you got your visa. So they came here illegally too, didn't they? Okay. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
What was the last word you just said? Did you say legal or illegal?
What's that?
The last word that you just said.
I don't know. Let's roll the tape. What's that?
Illegal, I think.
Going into Ellis Island.
Illegally.
Yeah, you get your visa immediately.
You actually get a visa at a sign.
Did you say legal or illegal?
I'm sorry, sir. I really don't know what you're asking. Could you
Is
explain,
that
please?
legal to do that? To get your visa?
For you to come here without a visa?
Yeah.
For you to come here, it's the same as passing the actual, barrier that we have right now, the wall or whatever you call it. Isn't it the same thing?
I think what they're saying is that at a time when parents and grandparents came to the United States and came through Ellis Island or one of the other sanctioned entry ports, back then, are you suggesting that they came illegally or they came legally?
They didn't have a visa.
There was no visa back then.
Exactly.
Oh,
That's the point.
well, but wait a minute, so you're saying, but you're saying, and I want to go back and forth as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Sure.
But your intention is that they came here illegally.
You get, when you came here to Ellis Island, 9 times out of 10, if you didn't have an immigrant visa petition that's already been filed for you, you came here without a visa. You jumped on a ship and came here to the United States, correct?
No. But there was no visas when my grandparents came.
Who said that?
I know because I was at the National Archives and went through all the ship logs and things like that.
What
There
year?
was no-
What year was it?
My first grandfather came around 1890. I
Okay.
would say from 1890 to 1905.
In 1856.
Now the ship logs had certain information.
Okay.
All right, that passengers needed to provide the ship captains under penalty of law. All right, and when that ship arrived, either in New York or in Baltimore or in Philadelphia, those ship logs were turned over, okay, to make sure they were okay. But there was no visas.
Okay,
And I
so
couldn't
if
tell
someone-
you at what point there were required visas. But when my grandparents came, there were no visas.
Yes, sir.
My parents came to Ellis Island, 1905, 04, somewhere around there. And you're saying that they came here illegally?
They didn't have visas.
Were their visas available?
Yes. I'll tell you why in a second.
So,
What about sponsorship?
Some of them, yes. That's what I said, 9 times out of 10, yes.
Excuse me, can everybody hear, or should we use a microphone? You can't hear?
So what's it, let me ask you this, go ahead, ma'am.
So if they had a sponsor, are you saying that's still illegal?
No, ma'am, that's not what I'm saying. So let me ask it this way. What's the difference between your grandparents coming through and asking for a visa at the port of entry, and someone coming from Mexico to the port of entry and asking for asylum?
I don't think the issue today turns on that.
How does it turn?
I think the issue turns on someone like you, okay? You came to this country legally. You came with a student visa, all right? And I understand that most of the people here who are not here legally are overstays. The difference between you and these other overstays is that the United States knows something about them, all right?
Okay.
They know who they are, they know where they came from, they know where they're going, they know what their intention is in the United States, all right?
Okay.
And in today's world, we have some information that we can obtain from Interpol to determine whether or not they are a risk to this country.
Do you know,
All right?
do you know
now,
that they,
now, when you have somebody who comes and presents themselves to an inspection center, okay, they are coming in legally.
that's not true.
Okay, no. They are not in violation of Title 8, are
Actually, they are.
No.
Absolutely.
Well,
People arriving aliens.
I know you're the attorney, but I'm pretty familiar with 1325 and 26, and
Okay.
I don't believe that they are.
Actually,
All right? But
okay.
it's the people that come illegally into the United States.
Okay.
right? That's the issue, where we do not know anything about them.
Until 2005, until something called the Real ID Act, we actually could get all that information you were asking for until Congress passed a law that says that you cannot get a driver's license any longer if you don't have legal status in the United States. I think that's one of the big faux pas that Congress made, honestly. Because we used to do the same thing. UNN, you went for a background check, and we did all the fingerprints and made sure that you're okay. We don't even have that anymore. Now, I understand the security problem, and I know I know that you've studied the issue and all of that stuff. The issue that I have is, what is the main goal of immigration law? What is the main goal of immigration law? Yes, sir.
Name what?
I think to control who comes in here, we have some idea of who comes in here, to somehow control the number of people that come in.
Okay, that's one of the things, and you're absolutely
In
correct.
other words, to have a border with what we have now, we have no border, we have no border, we're not a country.
That's not true.
Oh, I think it is true. I think it is true.
We do have a border,
We have a border, but the border is so open, we might as well not have a border.
but we also have a border in the north, in the northern part of the country.
Yeah, well, that's not being violated the way it is down
Actually,
here.
it is. You know that more drugs come from there than from Mexico?
I don't
You know that
know.
actually more terrorists have been caught coming from Canada than from Mexico?
Then maybe we have to control
So
both
do we
borders.
need a border up there too?
Maybe we do.
All right, thank you.
One at a time.
All right, I saw another hand over here.
I would say it's to have people in this country to contribute to our society.
Jerry.
Or-
Oh, I don't think I need that.
Yeah, you do.
Either to have people come into this country that will contribute to our society or will obey our society laws while they're here.
Okay, so let me tell you a story about my friend Jose, one of my clients. Jose came here to the U.S. He was he was in the army in his country, and he literally had a legitimate claim to asylum. But it was too late for him to apply at the time when he applied. Okay. Jose came here with the love of his life. 1989. Came here, both of them, they crossed the border. Okay? They lived here. He woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning every single day to go to the nursery to work. His wife was ill. She couldn't actually work. So he worked from 4 o'clock in the morning, doesn't get back into the house until 8 or 9 in the afternoon. 8 or 9 at night. That's a 16, 17-hour day, right? Pay taxes on every single dollar he made, okay? While raising three United States citizen children, and his wife was a green card holder. 3 kids and his wife on a salary of what? Working in the fields. Okay? Now, I understand you guys, they came here in an undocumented way. I absolutely understand. Okay? But at this point, the amount of children, United States citizen children that we have, if we try to deport the family and we try to deport the kids, our FBI is going to be very busy, because once they actually are kidnapped overseas, the FBI actually has to come in, and they're not going to Europe, and they're going to Venezuela and Mexico, guys. And some parts of Venezuela and Mexico is actually very dangerous. So what I'm saying is, yes, I give you that. They passed in an undocumented way. But what do we do now? Do we send 50 million Americans out?
We're worried about the ones coming in now.
You're worried, but the numbers
Unless
with...
they're committing crimes.
Okay.
That's who I'm mostly worried about.
So who's committing crimes more, the immigrants or the native-born Americans?
Well, there's a lot more native born Americans.
Percentage-wise, I think
That's not the point.
That's actually not
illegal
true.
aliens who come here.
That's actually not true, sir.
Aliens.
Actually, the Department of Justice statistics say otherwise.
What's the percentage of each?
Actually,
I'm not even
I
sure
think
of
it's
that,
1 to
so
10
I
or
don't
something
think
like
you
that.
can believe
Yes,
a
ma'am.
word they say. Since Obama weaponized them, I don't think you can believe a word they say.
The Department of Justice, you cannot actually believe them.
Right.
Absolutely.
You can't believe the Department of Justice.
I mean, look at McCabe, look at Comey, look at...
We're not going there, sir. We're not going there.
Why-
Because I know we're going to
They're
disagree.
so part of the same package.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I love you. I believe that there are more American citizens committing crimes and are in jail. I also know that there is close to 400,000 illegals in prison in the United States that we are giving support to. Food, television, clothing. I don't want them here. I want them out of this country. I want a wall. We have 2 points or 3 points of legal immigration on the southern border. People wait for years to come in. Why are we allowing these people to cross the borders anywhere and accepting them?
Because we're under international obligation to do.
Sorry?
We're under obligation internationally to do so. We actually signed the Refugee Act. It's in 1989. It was actually American law. Okay? And we actually have to take these people in.
Have to?
Yep, absolutely. We're under international. I'm sorry?
Put me on the border. They will not come in.
I think we can take care of them.
It doesn't seem that way.
Yes, Massey, sir. But I don't want you to be in danger. Actually, the border is not a dangerous place. But I don't want you to be in danger. And I really would like your company actually, to speak to you. Because I know you're the founder of this group, so I would love to actually pick your brain on a bunch of things after we talk today. What I'm saying is, we can't fix immigration tonight, guys. I mean, I'm sorry to break it to you, and I don't think we actually have the power to actually do that. But we're having a conversation. I really, truly believe in the system, okay? It's a broken system, but I really, truly believe in the system. I think it's one of the fairest system and the fairest system we can have right now. But the issue is that the system itself actually needs reform. Yes, sir.
Fairest to who? But it sounds like you are saying the system is
Broken. Why do we have to accept that? We have a Congress for years that do nothing, zero. They get paid to do something. Why didn't they fix the system? Why don't they fix the system?
Well, you had a Republican Congress for the last 2 years before 2018, and they didn't do anything about it.
The Senate wouldn't pass anything.
Well,
That's not fair.
Paul Ryan, a Trump hater, and all those
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Excuse me, one moment. I really want to keep this, a civil
You have to
discussion.
separate politics from this whole thing. You have to separate. You
Listen,
can't.
I want to keep this a civil, there's no reason we can't discuss this issue in a civil manner. Many sides of it, there's a big diversity of opinion, and I think we started out on the right foot, and I don't want it to deteriorate into a shouting match.
Okay. Do you know how long it takes for a person from the Philippines? Let's not talk about Mexico, whose parents are here and have lived here. Do you know how long it takes a person from the Philippines to legally immigrate to the United States?
A long, long.
35 years.
And lots of money.
35 years. So if you apply for someone today and they're 10 years old, they will be here when they're 45. Okay? I don't think that's a fair system. I totally don't.
I agree with you.
Thank you.
I also don't agree that if a baby is born into illegals, they should become a citizen.
Thank you. I actually appreciate you saying that, because not a lot of people probably, believe that. But, and it's, the reason why I'm telling you there were visas is because the first ever law that we passed in this country to regulate immigration was the Chinese Exclusion Act. I don't know if you knew that or not. And the Chinese Exclusion Act said, if you don't have two white people saying that you're a nice guy, we're not going to allow you back into the United States, even though you're born here in the United States. And that's where the 14th Amendment birthright citizenship came from. And that's why I appreciate you, sir, actually mentioning that. These are United States citizens. If you're born here in the United States, they're United States citizens. And compassion has to be a part of the system. Okay? I'm going to turn it into something else, but I really don't want it to get heated, so I'll probably hold off on that for a second. Compassion is a part of the system. So if you have children who are United States citizens, the system actually allows you and allows for the compassion for you to stay here in the United States. The problem is, even those numbers, there's only 8,000 of those visas, and they're backlogged for years and years. I represent a lot of people who actually apply for what's called the 10-year green card, which it's called cancellation or removal. And if you have children, you can go in front of the judge and prove if they actually would experience hardship. If you were removed to your country, you'll get cancellation or removal, and you'll stay here in the United States. The problem is we don't have enough of those visas. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
clarification on what you said before about that refugee contract that we signed in the past, the pact. If a person is in this country and has committed crimes against this country, disobeying our law, are they entitled to coverage in that refugee?
It depends on what kind of crime. Which crimes are you referring to?
Deception, being here illegally, asking for things
Being
from our
here
government.
in an undocumented way is not one of the crimes that actually stop you. But if you're a bad criminal, you're not gonna get to stay in the
So
system.
is that a question of subjectivity as to why they're here? To one person, that could be a serious thing, to another person not.
And that's why you go in front of a judge for that judge to actually determine if you're actually.
Secondarily, if a child is born in this country to people who are here illegally, why would they be considered Americans if in fact they were here through a deceptive position?
That's not, I mean, let's not blame the kids for what their
That's
father and
subjective.
parents did.
I'm speaking in specific objective terms. They were born to people here committing crimes against the United States, which is, you have to have a visa, you have to
Actually,
be a citizen.
being
That's
here
subjective.
in an undocumented way is not a crime. Let's just put that out there. It's not a crime. It's a civil infraction. It's not a crime. Okay? So,
Breaking a law. I mean, every one of us in this room is either a citizen or married to a citizen or has a visa, and these people don't.
because there is something called equal protection under the law. So if you go and say, your parents are undocumented, that's why you're not going to be a citizen, if you're married here if you're born here in the United States, everybody actually gets their citizenship yanked if they're born here in the United States. Yeah, so if your grandchildren are born here in the United States and both of their parents are United States citizens, they also don't become citizens. Is that what you want?
No, I don't understand.
No, what you're saying, what you're telling me is that if your parents are undocumented and you're born here in the United States, you don't become a citizen, right?
That's right, yeah.
Okay, that's illegal. Because we have something called equal protection under the law in the United States, which means you cannot put a certain class of people in a disparate position to other class. So if your class of people, you're saying that your parents are illegal, so you don't get to be a U.S. citizen. But if your parents are legal, you get to be a U.S. citizen. That will be an equal protection problem, and you will actually be treating people disparately. So you either take it away for everybody, or you can't take it away for that part of the group.
Except people that are here with parents and grandchildren
Man,
that are
that does
here
not
legally.
matter. That's what the law says. Unless we have a constitutional amendment that says, if you're born here of undocumented parents, you're not a citizen. That's what the law says. I mean, and everybody here actually likes the law and we want to abide by the law, correct?
While you were mentioning, everybody's the same, illegal or legal.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're a citizen or some immigrant.
That's not what I'm saying, sir. Please don't put words in my mouth. What I'm saying is, everybody who is born here in the United States is a U.S. citizen. That's what the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution says. Unless we want to change that by another constitutional amendment, everybody who is born here in the United States, regardless of the alienage of his parents, is a U.S. citizen. Yes, sir.
So that everybody understands, you're an immigration attorney.
Absolutely.
And as an immigration attorney, you're an advocate for your clients.
Absolutely.
All right? I'm just so that everybody understands. And your clients could be people who are here legally,
Yes.
who are dealing with renewing their status and
Yes, sir.
things like that. Your clients could also be people who are here illegally. And I understand you use the word...
In an undocumented way.
All right, I've
Yes, sir.
spoken with many immigration, with all due respect though, but who are here illegally.
Yes, sir.
All right?
Yes.
Who may be trying to change their status.
Absolutely.
Who may have come in contact with a law, sustained a conviction.
Yes.
And are now fighting deportation.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so I think it's important that that everybody here understands that. Now, with that said, I would take issue, because being in this country illegally, okay, and I understand undocumented, but it's really illegally, all right, because it is a crime. It is, no, and I know you're the attorney, but I think this is important, okay? This falls under Title VIII, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Section 1325.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It actually doesn't become...
Well, I've been involved with enough criminal prosecutions of 1325 and 1326.
1325 and 26 is different. That's when you're deported and you're coming back after you got deported.
That's
absolutely
issue,
different.
but there is still 1325.
That's
all right?
different.
We split it up,
Okay.
right? Because doesn't 1325 says that if you enter the United States without first presenting yourself to a government inspection center, you are in violation of 1325.
We're gonna disagree.
All right? And, which is a misdemeanor.
It's a misdemeanor.
Okay? And it's a Class B misdemeanor.
I already
And
said
as a Class B misdemeanor, that means that the federal government has absolutely no statistics as to the prosecutions and the sentencing, because it only begins at Class A felonies. Okay?
Okay, so
And
what's your
and
point?
when you do it a second time, it is then a felony.
Yes, sir.
All right? So I just think it's important that, that everybody understands not only the background of the statutes, but probably more important, exactly what your role is. And I'm not saying, you have a very important role, okay?
Yes, sir.
But you are an advocate for immigrants who are both here legally, and immigrants who are here illegally who hope to change their status.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
I have a question for you. That joined ISIS.
She's not Syrian. Yeah,
The American woman that joined ISIS.
Is she American?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, sir.
No, she's an American woman.
No.
She joined ISIS, and now, and she was a bad actor. Now she wants to come back to America. Would you defend her?
Absolutely.
You would.
In a heartbeat.
But her father was,
Is suing America.
no, he was something and.
A diplomat.
He was a diplomat, and
And
there is an exception under the law to people who are born here in the United States, who are children of diplomats. But it depends on how high of a class of a diplomat your parents was or were, and then how long ago after your parent actually left the diplomatic corps did you actually become you were born. So
Her father was not.
he actually was out for 6 months. That's
Yeah,
from what I understand.
So.
So now to understand that this lady had a passport.
Yeah.
She had a passport. So we already told her that she's a U.S. citizen. Now we can't just yank it and say you're not a citizen anymore.
Well, sure
Okay?
you can. Sure you can.
No, you can't.
Yes,
No,
you
you actually
can.
can't.
Wait a minute, hold on. I'm sorry. You commit crimes against this country.
Okay.
If you are a U.S. citizen, the United States of America has the right to pull all of those rights away from you.
That's not what the law says.
All right. Do I say it a little differently to make that right?
No, that's just not.
What happens is, the law says if you are a naturalized citizen,
You can take it away from terrorism
and
grounds.
subsequent to you correct me if I'm wrong, but subsequent to you becoming a naturalized citizen, the government learns that you committed felonies prior to that, all right, and failed to disclose them on your application for citizenship,
Actually,
then you are subjected to a denaturalization process.
that's if you're naturalized. And that's what I'm saying, is that if you're naturalized, that's what happens. And one of the two things that you can actually denaturalize someone under is terrorism and committing felonies and, felonies that you didn't actually disclose on your application, which is actually one of the hardest things to do, is denaturalizing someone, and the Supreme Court has said as such, 80 years ago. She's a U.S. citizen. She was born in this country. Okay? And here's the way I think about it. I've represented people who were wanted by the Interpol. Okay? And this is the reason why I actually represent them. Because everybody deserves a shot. And again, we're here in the United States. Everybody deserves a shot at defending themselves.
Not true.
Absolutely. Every single person. Every single person who's here in the United States and commits a crime has a due process under the law. And the second that actually goes away, we're not the U.S. anymore. This is what you need to understand. Is that that's what sets us apart from other countries who are way in, the lower rung of countries. Because you don't get due process, you get a bullet in the head. And I promise, I grew up in one of those. And that's what made the United States what the United States is.
First of all, I think she was born in Georgia, or it was
In Alabama.
Alabama.
Yes, sir.
Let me go past it. Let me just walk you backward just a little bit to my question 20 minutes ago.
Okay.
Still had not been answered.
What was the purpose of Ellis Island?
To admit people.
Did they have to give them any information
What do you mean?
about who they were
Yes,
and where they were headed?
absolutely.
Yes.
And those people that were scrutinized and those people that were giving the okay came into the country, finished out getting their paperwork.
Yes,
correct?
sir. Absolutely.
My question, one more time. The people that came through Ellis Island, were they legal or illegal?
I don't think that they were undocumented or illegal. I don't think they were. They came under an inspection. The law of the land at the time allowed you to come in and get an immigrant visa in Ellis Island.
Right.
But that wasn't the point. My point was, what's the difference between someone who came through Ellis Island and someone who comes to a port of entry and asks for asylum? That was my point.
But we're not worried about those that come through the port end. We're worried about the ones that don't.
No, but what's the difference?
Well, when they come through port of entry, you have to give us information, and we know something
Okay, so
about them.
what if someone jumps the border and goes to an ICE officer and gives them their information?
No.
I mean,
I want the information to go to somebody who knows what to do with it, not some yahoos whose house she's got that.
I'm sorry. Rules, I'm the rules. Absolutely. Absolutely, I'm not telling, I play by the rules and I make a lot of money because of the rules, guys. I mean, I'm not telling you that you're not. I'm not saying that, crossing the border is actually a good thing. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is sometimes you actually have to cross the border because there is no visa waiting for you. And this is the point of my presentation from the beginning, is that you have to wait a very long time for you to get a visa. Yes, ma'am?
Are you an American citizen?
No, ma'am. I'm a green card holder.
Are you planning on becoming a citizen?
Absolutely, and I'm going to be very proud, and I'm going to have a camera crew behind me taking every second of it, and I'm going to cry when I do it. And it will be my privilege to become a U.S. citizen.
Well, what I'm asking, I guess, is there are people who are here trying to become a citizen, and I think that there are others who come here illegally. And it's really a shame that those people that are trying to become citizens are sort of pushed behind, and those others are here, and they get more attention, and they get more...
But no, ma'am, because they could never have a green card unless they leave the country. So if someone comes in, let me explain this. If someone comes here to the United States in an undocumented way or entered without inspection, let's use that because you don't like undocumented. If someone enters without inspection, if they didn't enter or they didn't have something pending before 2001 on their behalf, they would never be able to get a green card or permanent residence without leaving the country and trying to come back and waiting in line outside and actually trying to come back. So it's almost impossible to get a green card that way. So if you come here, you cross the border, you're not going to get a green card unless you fall under exceptions to the exceptions to the exceptions. So the fact that people who are here in undocumented way or enter without inspection, whatever words you want to use, they do not take priority over legal immigrants because legal immigrants get the priority. Does that answer your question?
The question over here?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
I think part of the problem is that America, I agree with you, the system is broken, but it's broken in large part because America has been too generous. It's been too open to people coming in, very casual about it. And I think you could help yourself if you were just, you're hung up on this undocumented versus illegal. They come here, people do come here illegally. There are millions of them here illegally, and I think it's just the right thing to say because it happens to be true. To compare that to people coming in Ellis Island is, again, you're playing with semantics. You don't face any real justice to say that these people, were here illegally.
I'm not saying that they were.
Let me just make it.
I've never said I did. Well, they actually came here
well, they came here and many of them were turned away.
Exactly.
They were sent back.
Absolutely.
It could have been as simple as, they had some communicable disease and that was the end of it.
Actually, in some of the states.
We have lost control of that. And then you're also making the case that if you're born here, which is part of the law, I agree, and again, it's part of our too generous nature. I mean, how many other countries allow a child born in that country of non-citizens to automatically become citizens?
I was born in one, and I don't remember.
Well, there aren't many, are there?
That's why I'm not Saudi.
Well, I know, but you...
That's it. I mean,
but answer the question. How many countries allow that to happen?
Let me explain the difference. Okay? In international law, there are two ways to actually gain citizenship by birth. Okay? One of them is by soil and one of them by blood. Okay? The United States is used solely, which is by soil. If you're born in the soil, you are a citizen. I was born to Lebanese parents in Saudi Arabia. Because they were Lebanese and they were not Saudi, I wasn't allowed to actually get that citizenship. France does the same thing. If you are not a French citizen at the time, I actually have a client right now who thought that he's French for 35 years, and then he went to try to get a passport, and they told him you're not French because your parents were Vietnamese. So there are countries that do that, but this is right now, this is what our law says.
No, I agree, and it's part of the generosity of the United States that I think
Too generous. You mentioned the Chinese Exclusion Act. Sure, we've had in our history times where we limited people coming in. The very fact that we welcomed more people on an annual basis, more people come here than in many years all the other countries in the world combined.
Okay, well, but that's
partially
not true.
I think people here are at the point where they're saying, hey, how do we take care of the people who aren't citizens? Even a comparison between crimes by Americans versus crimes by illegals. Well, you don't have to tolerate crimes by illegals at all. It's a false comparison. So again, if you're trying to make your case for illegals, I think
I'm not trying to make the case for undocumented.
You are.
No, I'm really not.
You've been doing this the entire time.
I'm not. I'm actually telling you that our system is broken. Actually, who was the last president who actually gave amnesty? And what's this place called again? What's this group called? Conservative?
He also said he made a mistake.
That's what I'm saying. So, yes, ma'am.
We do know approximately how many people a year become citizens in America.
I really don't. I don't have that statistic.
Some here, some place, a few people, I've heard 1 million. I don't know if that's right or wrong. I'm asking you, because if it is 1 million, then I think we are accepting a nice amount of people. It's terrible that there might be 60 times that amount that want to come, but maybe $1 million a year is all that we can handle.
Who said that?
I don't know, I remember hearing it from a.
All right, so let me say
And I'd
this.
like to know, what you think the number would be.
Guys, here's something that you have to understand, ladies and gentlemen. The United States, as a sovereign, has a right to limit immigration. 100%, 1,000,000%, the United States has that right. Okay? Now, I don't like it because I don't make money, but yeah. I mean, the United States has that right to do that. Here's what I want you, and I think Neil said, it's kind of saying that I'm running out of time. Here's something that I want to leave you with, and this is a controversial part that I didn't want to mention. Sir, in the back. Yes, sir. Let me get you before you say how. Go ahead.
We've been able to talk a great deal about the United States. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on in our own state and in our own area at the moment?
What do you mean?
Where we're at with illegal or legal immigration, what's the culture in our local area?
There are a bunch of laws in the Florida House that if passed are going to be very bad. And the one that comes to mind is the one where you cannot actually.
Well, who are they going to be bad?
I don't think it's fair. But let me finish, and you actually I don't know what you're insinuating, but we'll talk about it in a second. So there's a bill in the House right now that you cannot rent to someone who's undocumented. Okay? And I really think that's actually very unfair if it actually does pass. I don't think that's actually a good law. It's a discriminatory law, and I don't think it should pass. But that's one of the things that are going through the Florida House. Other than that, I really don't think there's anything else that's anti-immigrant that's actually in the House right now. But, I mean, we live in a conservative state, and a lot of people don't want immigration. But here's something that I want to leave with, and I know this is probably not going to be the most popular idea that I leave with today. And if you guys want to be mad at me, do it in a respectful way, okay? The CDC just, actually 2 weeks ago, just released the numbers. And they said that the numbers of native-born United States, native-born American are dwindling. They're going down, okay? And unless we actually bring more immigration, and this is a problem that Europe is having, and has had for more than 15 years, that the birth numbers are going down. That at the end of the day, we're not going to be able to pay for Social Security down the road, we're not going to be able to pay for Medicare down the road, we're not going to be able to do that. To do a lot of things down the road that we really need to do. Now, I know the persuasion of this group, the reality is, and I think if we keep losing the race with other countries, and I'm not telling you we need to bring in everybody who wants to come here to the United States, but at the very least, if somebody in Lebanon who's a 15-year-old who wants to come here to be an attorney, I think we should give him a shot because he wants to go get an education. And that's what I'm saying. So when it comes to action, I'm sorry? Okay, which I did. I was talking about myself. But what I'm saying is, using our immigration system that we have right now, we're really losing on a lot of fronts. And one of them is actually we don't have a lot of graduates in the sciences. And I think we really need to reform the system to not have a lot of undocumented immigrants and have the documented immigrants that we really need to actually have a bright future. Thank you so much, guys. You're good fun.
Thank you very much. That was very interesting. I think we all learned a lot. And my conclusion is that the system is broken. The only ones that can fix it are our congressmen, our senators, and it doesn't look like they're going to be doing anything. So we're going to have to live through this, like we're going to have to live through a lot of other things. And it's an unfortunate situation, but that's the reality. So So until we can get a government that's responsive to the people and the needs of the people, we're up Schitt's Creek. Pardon my language. Okay, I have a few other things to discuss before we break up the meeting. I want to thank everybody for coming here tonight. And I just wanted to mention that we have new membership applications if anybody's interested in joining. The next club membership meeting will be on Monday, March 25th. By the way, all club meetings are going to be on the fourth Monday of the month, and they'll be held here in the social hall. The guest speaker for next month's meeting will be retired Police Captain Brett Bartlett. The subject will be firearms laws and stand your ground. Mr. Bartlett has an extensive background in law enforcement and developing and delivering firearms instruction to the police force, and now he's doing it as a private citizen. Thanks again. Thanks for everybody coming, and we hope to see you next time.